want to welcome all of you here, and we're very grateful that you came. This has been a project in the making for many, many years, since Steamboat Landing was closed probably close, if not over 40 years ago. So we wanted to get it going again because of its location, its historical deal, and so on and so forth. So for you to come today and share your memories about Steamboat Landing, and about Steamboat Slough, and about Sutter Island, and the river, the Sacramento, the Steamboat Slough, whatever it may be, is just a thrill and a treat for us. And you're adding to a historical event. We're going to edit this down at some point in time after we get everything done, and it's probably going to go to the Historical Society in Walnut Grove as part of the history here. So for you guys to be here is just tremendous, and I want to thank you, and we want to thank you very much for being here and taking your time out of your day to come over here and do this. We started this project, originally we were going to be open in spring of 2012. It's now spring past of 2015. But when you're dealing with all kinds of different entities and all kinds of different government things and people and issues and so forth, it just takes a horrendous amount of time to get something done. But we are where we are at the moment. We're got the building up, we're working on the inside. We'll probably be done with this pretty much by sometime in November. Now, whether we're going to open in November or not, that's another story. Because, as you know, things slow down here quite a bit in the wintertime, especially January, February. So it may not be the most opportune time to do that. But certainly by the spring of next year, 2016, we'll definitely have this thing open and operating and going down the road and what we want to do. So as you can see on some of the advertisements, it's a eatery, deli, and bakery. We want to do good food here. The last thing we wanted was another, beer and hamburger from the river. We want to do something nice. We want to do something that's upscale. We want to do something that people are going to be proud of. And it's an asset here to the community and so forth. So we'll be doing deli things with rotisserie chicken and ribs and that type of stuff. We'll have a smoker unit that we're going to do smoked meats on the weekends with, and then the bakery. We want to feature our pears. We want to do pear products. We want to do pear pies and pear frappes and pear breads and pear cake that my wife has so nicely done. If you've had some, I'm sure you'll agree it's pretty darn good. So that's kind of what we're up to. A lot of emphasis on the grab and go thing. We don't have a lot of room. We've got as much as we can, but nevertheless, a lot of grab and go because people will be at the beach, people will be going down the road, people will be going down the river, and we're doing some agritourism here on our farm. It's called agritourism. And so there'll be that type of stuff coming out of here too, so emphasis on that. Some of you know about Steamboat Landing when it was on the other side of the highway, a long time ago. And those are great stories you want to hear about because I don't know that much about that over there, other than the fact that I know it burned down sometime in the 40s. But other than that, that's about it. The gas station still survives, and we're going to keep that there as a memento of the early days. So,
my name is Sue English, and I'm actually a newbie here. Been coming up here since 1992, so I don't remember any of that. I just remember there was a gas station, I think, at one time down on the river, but I'm going to pass it on to people who have some history.
I'm June Stephenson, and when we first came up here, we spent our time on the river. We did not come into the slough and steamboat.
On sailboats.
With sailboats. And so our time, there was 4 sailboats that spent the time on the river. But I can remember the young people coming in to the the restaurant here and dancing. And there was always a policeman that would come and take them down to their boats to see that for sure they got back to their own boats.
Now, where were they dancing?
Right here at the...
Was it across the street or?
No, it was here.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they had, this was the spot to come to.
Can you describe was it a restaurant
It
here?
was a restaurant.
Right here, not across the river?
No,
Not the
it was
one
a
across the
restaurant
river?
here.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
all right.
And places to purchase food. And so it's just a lot of wonderful years up here on the Delta.
every year for 2 weeks?
Yeah. We,
About in July.
yeah, 50 years we did this. We missed 1 year. And that was it. And my daughter-in-law, Debbie, and my son, Bob.
Okay, Debbie?
I actually grew up in the area in Courtland and raised my children here. But my husband and I have a kind of a amusing story because we met when we were teenagers at Morgan's Landing. I was pumping gas and he brought his ski boat.
And I went there because the gas was shut down at the dock.
So it was just meant to
and
be.
Had to go up there.
So we met there. We just talked, I pumped the gas and we talked. And the next day I came down to the beach here at Steamboat with my cousin, and there he was on his boat. And so we started talking. I invited him to the 2nd annual Pear Fair that year. And we dated for 2 years off and on. And then we went our separate ways, raised our families. And long story short, we've been married 7 years now. So, but he has more of the river life to share, recreating on the
My
river.
parents, I was born in 1954. My parents brought me up in 1955. And every year I look forward to coming here. This was a special place. On the boat, on the beach, the slough was lined with boats, and there were friends that we all would get together on the beach. And Deb and I joked that maybe when we were maybe 5, 6 years old, that her cousin brought her and I was down at the beach, and we may have been on the same beach at the same time. But I remember coming up to the store. I'd come up, there was an ice machine, and it was a thrill for me to come up for a block of ice. Put the money in, you hear it coming down the chute, or coming into the store for a soda, and a hamburger, milkshake and fries, and arcade games. It was always a baseball game, a bowler, and a crane machine. And I kind of got hooked later on in life on arcade games because of that.
How much was the hamburger?
I don't know. I wasn't buying at that time. Mom?
Probably 30 cents.
But I remember when I was a little bit older coming in, and Bud Wallace was running the bar and hamburgers. And he had a stool, and it had a battery underneath it with a little rod coming up through it. And they got a great kick out of the girls in wet bathing suits sitting on this bar stool. That's one of the things that stuck with me for all these years. And I remember later on when I was late teens, the Sea Scouts would work here, and they would leave a window open, and they would bring some beer from the store, and they would come down to the ranch and get some firewood, and we'd have a bonfire on the beach, and we'd sit up on top of the bridge and look out. But a lot of good memories, and it's always been a special place, and I've been watching this for years, ever since it closed down, and I think this is just wonderful, and we will be here.
Thank you.
Look forward to it.
Awesome, wasn't that great?
Yeah.